Hello folks, Y Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this very beautiful winter morning. It's awesome out here. For some reason the sun just seems brighter. Well, gee, no wonder. Look at all the white on the ground. But it just seems so much brighter out here than it does even in the summertime. The name of this video is called The Y Guy Realistic View of the Story of Job. Now, in my last video, I said I wanted to do a video about the book of Job and expose some things that people have never even considered before. When I mean people, I mean, you know, the religious folks who use the book of Job as a teaching tool. Well, now it's time to put on our thinking caps, okay, just for a little bit, and consider a realistic view of the book of Job rather than believing it's literal and true simply because it's in the Bible. All right? And I mean no insult to anyone who feels that the Bible is something extraordinary. It is extraordinary, okay? But we've got to learn to rightly divide the word of truth, okay, from those words that are folklore and that are simply not true. That's all I'm trying to do here, okay? You know, with the exception of the Concordant Literal and the Young's Literal Translation, you notice the word literal in there, in those two titles? That's very important, okay? But anyway, other than those two, every other Bible uses the name Satan with the capital S in the story of Job. You know, the Concordant and the Young's are correct by using the Hebrew-based word adversary. So wouldn't it be wise to investigate the oldest version on record of the story of Job? Just to, to find out if the word Satan was used? Common sense, right? Well, the oldest version is obviously the Greek Septuagint, folks. And I discovered that not once, not even once, was the word Satan used in the story of Job. But instead, they used the words slanderer or slanderous. Now, and on my previous video, I pointed out how I want to share something very insidious here. The ancient Latin church took the Greek words for slanderer or slanderous, and they changed them to devil in some places. Okay? In some places. Not in every place, and that's what makes it translation bogus, is if you're not going to, every time slander or slanderous is used in the New Testament, if you're not going to change every one of them to devil, you shouldn't even change any of them. Okay? Follow me on this reasoning here. To me, it's common sense. Then they took the word slanderer and slanderous in the Old Testament, in the Septuagint, they read it in there and they changed it to a name, Satan. Do you see how they did like a double punch there to try to continue to deceive people? Okay, well, enough of that rant here. So why don't most Bibles reflect what was written in the book of Job via the Septuagint? But instead, the publishers, chose to run with the idea of an evil entity that has been given the name of Satan. A huge difference. The words slanderer or slanderous can represent an ideology, if you think about it, or a motive in the minds of a reader. But using the name of Satan gives the reader a completely different, erroneous perspective. Excuse me. So anyway, I hope that this information I just shared causes a person to at least reconsider what you've been taught. All right? And now let's use some common sense here when reading the story of Job. As per what's written in most Bibles, Christendom expects its followers to believe that an unrepentant enemy of God, okay, can come and go from heaven, anytime it pleases. All right? Yet, God won't allow an unbelieving sinner into heaven even once. All right? Now that's according to Christian teaching. To make matters worse, Christians claim that all unrepentant people are enemies of God. And furthermore, he has sanctioned an eternity of suffering for those enemies as well. Are you following my reasoning here? Where am I off? So let me get this right. And use a little sarcasm here, okay? According to the story of Job, God allows his number one adversary into heaven, the same enemy who happens to be responsible for making the majority of mankind into enemies of God. You following me? Now, this all results, okay, in those enemies not being allowed into heaven, and further results in them suffering an eternity of torment. Okay? Unfortunately, the insanity doesn't stop there. All right? Then God hypocritically turns right around and commands that all mankind should love their enemies, while he sanctions his enemies to suffer endless torment. I told you, it's the insanity of it all. I'm not saying anything new here, folks. In other words, according to the book of Job, apparently God is willing to show more honor and respect. This is what gets me. More honor and respect to an entity who causes God's children harm than he would to those whom Jesus died for. All because they didn't believe that Jesus died for them. Now get this. Let's put some icing on the cake and come full circle by marrying the story of Job to traditional Christian teaching. God is going to punish people for eternity due to the deception caused by the very enemy that he allows access into heaven. There he was. There this enemy was. Standing right there in front of God's throne, possibly within arm's reach. Okay? Yet God lets him go to continue to cause harm to poor Job. And not only that, and to all of mankind down through the centuries, resulting in an eternity of suffering for the majority of people that God claims that he loves. It's like, what? I can't help but being passionate about this stuff, folks. This kind of scenario that I just spoke about would be like a general of a great army, okay, who would allow an enemy assassin into his office, all along knowing that this person was an assassin, and then have a conversation with him or her about his or her plans, and then let them leave, knowing that they would kill his staff on the way out. Did you catch that? Look, folks, it's bad enough. It's bad enough to slander a God of love by believing, okay, by believing that he would create such a place like hell. But to make him out to be an incompetent, stupid fool, it makes you the very thing that the book of Job makes God out to be. At least how it's understood. The book of Job is understood. Okay? But of course, neither you nor God, okay, is an incompetent fool. So that would mean that this story, along with the devil portrayed in it, can't be taken literally, but should be viewed as an allegory. I'm coming close to a close here. What I do take literal, though, is the true definition of the Hebrew word Satan with a small s. It is my understanding that in most Bibles, the image portrayed reflecting the enemy of God was properly called a Satan. Again, notice how I said a Satan rather than just Satan with a capital S, like the Latin Church wants you to believe. So why do I believe the word Satan, not the name Satan, is acceptable even though the word Satan isn't in the Greek Septuagint? Because I previously explained in my last video, okay, that the word Satan means adversary or accuser. And what was this Satan in the Job story accusing God of doing? Answer: showing favoritism to Job. That's what this enemy was accusing God of doing. And in closing, isn't it interesting how it's usually the ego of man that is constantly accusing God of not doing what we think is right? Unfortunately, I do it all the time, to be honest. Okay? Some will say that the conversation between God and this Satan had nothing to do with the ego, but was only a test, okay, to see how loyal Job was. That's kind of a stretch, but what was the result of this supposed test? Job questioned God, just like Adam did in the garden, and that's a huge hint. Okay? Either it's an allegory of Adam and mankind in general, and what mankind does, or God is as sadistic and cruel as what Christendom makes him out to be with their hell doctrine. If you disagree with this video, and leave a comment, make sure it's polite. I'm open for discussion. If it's not polite, if you're just going to do the slandering, if you're going to do the slanderer, if you're going to be the devil, if you're going to be a Satan, anyway, I'll just delete it. Look me up on Facebook under a group called the Y Guy Group. It's a private group. You have to answer 3 questions to join. They're simple questions like, are you... Oh, I don't remember. But anyway, I have an open public timeline under the name of fake avatar name of John Anthony Jones. Look me up there if you would like before joining the Y Guy Group, if you so choose. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down on this video, according to your feelings and beliefs, I guess. And because I think it helps the channel. The thumbs help the channel quite a bit. So I've been told. I don't know. And consider subscribing if you haven't already. I will leave a link to my 3 books that I've written. Is In Defense of God's Love, Is God Bipolar, and No Love, No Fear, No Love, No Fear. And I'll leave those 3 links, and then I'll also leave a link to both Patreon and Ko-fi if you so choose to, if you'd like to help me out. Thank you so much for viewing.